Oh, look, Robert Reich again, this time giving a stupid opinion in Newsweek, published yesterday on the 5th as I record this. It's Wednesday the 6th. This may be later getting up because Heather and I are going on vacation, so I'm trying to save up a bunch of videos, but anyway, yeah, Reich, the fake economist, the man who has no training in economics, the man who's just, there to give cover to the political guys, part of the Clinton administration. Yeah, you know the guy. Going against cryptocurrencies, he says, last November, the global cryptocurrency market was worth $3 trillion. Now it's below $1 trillion. Bitcoin alone has plummeted more than 70% since November 9. Long-term subscribers are going to know what question to ask. Why November 9th? What was so special about November 9th that he's using it as a basis for comparison? Does that just happen to be a peak? Just an extra little uptick that he can go? Usually you look at year-to-date figures, and we'll look at year-to-date figures, but yeah, he's cherry-picking. He's cherry-picking. First, some history. Oh, this ought to be good. The Banking Act of 1933, also known as the Glass-Steagall Act. Again, long-term subscribers will remember me talking about this after the financial crisis. And yeah, he's going to say all of the same thing I and so many others spent so many years debunking. Glass-Steagall separated commercial banking from investment banking, Main Street from Wall Street, to protect people who entrusted their savings to commercial banks from having their money gambled away. What it really did was create the FDIC. That was the purpose for it, because they had just had all those bank failures, and they said, hey, wouldn't it be nice if we created the FDIC basically so that government could bail out the banks? Yeah, we saw how well that worked out, didn't we? But he thinks it's a good thing. But anyway, when they created it, there's this concept called a moral hazard, and they were just enough aware of it to say, wait a minute. If we're going to protect the deposits of people's commercial bank accounts, we probably don't want to extend that to mortgages, do we? So that's the reason for this division. Notice he doesn't tell you that. He doesn't tell you that. He says Glass-Steagall's larger purpose was to put an end to the giant Ponzi scheme that had overtaken the American economy in the 1920s and led to the great crash of 1929, even though we know it was due to the Federal Reserve's monetary policy. Several books on that. Murray Rothbard's Great Depression is a good one. I got a lot of videos on it too. Just look through my channel. In 1999, Bill Clinton and Congress agreed to ditch what remained of Glass-Steagall. Yep, you remember this? The repeal of Glass-Steagall. It's gone. They ditched what remained. That means there's none of it left. Well, gee, let's think about that. If Glass-Steagall created the FDIC, and the last bit of what remained was ditched by Clinton, then that means the FDIC shouldn't be around anymore, huh? Let's look around and see if the FDIC is still in existence. Oh yeah, there it is, right there. Yep, FDIC still exists. Reich doesn't know what he's talking about. Well, actually, as we'll see, he knows perfectly well what he's talking about. He's just lying through his eye teeth. But anyway. With Glass-Steagall's repeal, the American economy once again became a betting parlor. And, I really can't believe that people are still pushing this myth. It's been debunked for over a decade. What happened? was that banks were shielded from the risks of mortgages. There was Fannie and Freddie. There was all those the Community Reinvestment Act. On and on and on. Just again, look through the history of my channel. I covered all of this at the time. I covered all of it. But it's Ponzi schemes. Wall Street's Ponzi schemes began toppling in 2008, just like they had in 1929. The difference is that the U.S. government bailed out the biggest banks and financial institutions. Yeah, because they knew that was going to happen, didn't they? If you know you're going to get bailed out, if you know that you're not the one that has to pay the price when you do something wrong, then you're not going to be loss averse, are you? Yeah, this was government's fault. Not deregulation. Nope, it was regulation, not deregulation. Also, a couple of things to consider. It's funny how these big banks that we're talking about, the real big bailouts and the scandals and all of that, none of them were combined commercial investment banks. He's blaming it all on, it's not a repeal of Glass-Steagall, it's Gramm-Leach-Bliley. What it did was remove that distinction, so it extended FDIC protections over to mortgage accounts. Again, I've got videos on this, but it was just one more way that, that mortgage accounts got shielded from risk. But when they looked at the banks, look at the banks that were the big problems, ones that failed. There were HSBC, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, Bear Stearns. Those were not combined commercial and investment banks. So combining the two had nothing to do with it. Also, consider that on the entire planet, the only other country that had separated commercial and investment banks was Belgium. No other country had done it. So why wasn't this happening all the time if this is such a huge problem? These are the questions he doesn't want you asking. So he says, a new but watered-down version of Glass-Steagall was enacted, the Dodd-Frank Act. Oh, God. Videos. I have these. Dodd-Frank is so horrible. It was about the worst thing that you could have done for banking customers. Just absolute worst. It's not a watered-down version of Glass-Steagall. It's just putting the screws on you and me so that the big guys can profit. Yeah, so. Anyway, which brings us to the crypto crash. And he talks about cryptocurrency investments. His source is the chair of the SEC. Yeah, that's what he's using as a source here. Cryptocurrency investments are rife with fraud, scams, and abuse. It's difficult to know who provides money for loans, where the money flows, or how easy it is to trigger currency meltdowns. You don't have the first clue how cryptocurrency works, do you, Reich? I'm trying to put together a model in my head of someone doing this with cryptocurrency, and I can't do it. Basically, there are no standards. Basically, what he means is government isn't doing anything. And that causes him to say, deposits are not insured. Outright lie! That's just a lie! That's an unbelievable lie! Coinbase was the first, years ago. Years ago, they insured their deposits through Lloyd's of London. And now, I know Uphold is insured. All of the major exchanges at this point really have their deposits insured. It's just not being done by government. It's not being done by the holy, blessed government, the high priests of Reich's cult. So I guess it doesn't count. But anyway, exchanges are just a tiny part of what crypto is all about. That's just on-roading and off-roading from fiat. Mainly what you're doing with crypto is you're using your wallet. And the idea is you use a non-custodial wallet, a wallet that you have the keys to, that you keep yourself, What do you need to insure about that? What's that? No, it doesn't need to be insured by government because it's insured by math. But he will tell you this market isn't regulated because of intensive lobbying by the crypto industry. Oh, yes, there's intensive crypto industry lobbyists. If only, am I right? Yeah. Whose kingpins want the Ponzi scheme to continue. First, gotta love the word kingpin there. Yeah. Yeah, no, he's not at all poisoning the well here. But also, I don't think he knows what a Ponzi scheme is. A Ponzi scheme is when you have an investment item and you pay off the current investors with money from new investors. In what way is crypto doing that? In what? Someone explain this to me. How is this even remotely happening in crypto? It's happening with the central bank all the time. Again, videos from the 15 plus year history of this channel. All right, let's get down to his conclusion. Crypto is pure bezel, as is now being revealed. If we should have learned anything from the crashes of you can hear this in his voice, can't you? You can just hear him in your head. Of 1929 and 2008, it's that regulation of financial markets is essential. Otherwise, they turn into Ponzi schemes filled with bezel, leaving small investors with nothing and endangering the entire economy. It's time for the Biden administration and Congress to stop the crypto bezel. Gee, you want to work in the word bezel a few more times? Bezel. You couldn't think of any other word to go there? So, yeah, you don't even know how to write, do you? Oh, and by the way, bezel is a verb. Reich doesn't even know grammar. Oh boy. So yeah, at the very bottom, he hawks his latest book, The System, Who Rigged It, How We Fix It. The book is out now. System, Who Rigged It. Well, considering you're one of the riggers. Geez. You want to know why crypto's going down? Because everything is going down. All right, let's take a look at this in some subsequent pages. Ha! Here we go. All right. Dow Jones Industrial Average year to date over here on CNN Business, money.cnn.com. Boy, don't you really wish you could snap people like Reich away in real life? Do a Thanos snap and then all the parasites like Reich just all disappear, and then maybe we'll actually be able to keep some money for ourselves. Oh boy. But yeah, look, what's it doing? It's going down. It's going down. What else have we got? All right, snap again. S&P 500 year to date, same thing. All right, let's look at what is this? This is the Nasdaq. Yeah. They're all going down. They're all going down. And they're all doing basically the same shape. Let's just get them all going together. Boom, 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 like that. We'll just keep going between them. Notice they all have the same shape. They start out high. They go down for a bit. And then they have their little ups and downs. But they're primarily going down until about March. And then there's a bump. Then April, basically, they start going down again. Then a little up and then a little down. And then now they're kind of starting to go back up a little bit. What's Bitcoin doing, you ask? Well, it's doing this. Same thing. Yep. Here's CoinMarketCap, Bitcoin year to date. Same thing. Starts high, goes down a bit. March goes back up, then starts going down a bit. Goes down in April. Then it really goes down, and now it's starting to come back up a bit. What about Dash? Same thing. Same thing. Why is crypto going down? Because everything's going down. But people like Reich don't want you to know this. Paul Krugman tried saying the same thing over on Twitter, and I posted a lot of these charts there, and oh boy, the people who follow Krugman can't even do basic math. Oh my God. They can't even tell going down from going up. Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah, this is what it is. This is what's going on. So let's look over here at another article. This one is from a few years ago, but this is from a sane SEC evaluation showing that Dash, the Dash cryptocurrency, which you can use practically everywhere in America today, just use the Dash Direct app, why it isn't a security. And so this is actually Ryan Taylor, the former CEO of Dash Core Group, detailing his communications with the SEC, and he said, I think we have an extraordinarily strong legal argument for why Dash is not a security, and I think that message has landed. And Taylor believes that the agency is very reluctant to directly issue them, and that the lack of an explicit letter should not be construed to mean that Dash's regulatory status is still in question. The SEC, as we've seen publicly, is very slow to act. The only no-action letter they have issued to date was for, essentially, a coupon for flights. It was so obvious that this wasn't a security that a first-year law student could easily identify that it was not a security. Yet it took them 54 phone calls and something like 10 months to get that no-action letter. I anticipate the more complex situations are going to take even longer. He also says, I did not actually believe that it will be possible for any cryptocurrency that actually launched to get a no-action letter because the SEC hates to issue them after an asset has been issued, but what I can tell you is this. Prior to October, that was October 2018, when we submitted our no-action letter request to the SEC, I was getting multiple inquiries a month from exchanges that had been contacted by the SEC on Dash and was asking them for their legal opinion on whether or not Dash was a security. Now, luckily, by that point in time, we had already done most of the research, and we were able to share summaries of the legal opinions that we had developed at that point. And so we were able to help a lot of them out on a kind of one-on-one basis. But the SEC was very active, and they were becoming active not just with Dash, but with many cryptocurrencies. We submitted our letter, and then the following month met with the SEC in person in Washington, D.C. There were tables of people who were peppering us with questions. A lot of them were, I would say, attempted gotchas. Since that meeting, I have not received a single inquiry. I believe that the objectives of educating the SEC, answering their concerns, has been met at this point. We had some interaction with the SEC since, but it has taken a lot of effort on our part to get them to engage. They clearly don't want to engage at this point, and my opinion is that they do not view Dash as a security, and that is why it has been difficult to get them to advance the process. It's not an area that they have a concern with anymore. So now if you're wondering how this works legally, here's another page for you. This is Investopedia talking about the Howey test. And this is from the Supreme Court case SEC v. W.J. Howey. And it talks about a 4-pronged test that you use to determine if something is an investment contract or a security. Now remember, Reich's whole thing is about cryptocurrency is this fraudulent investment, this Ponzi scheme. You know, all of that. Yeah. Well, let's look at the Howey test. An investment contract is an investment of money in a common enterprise with the expectation of profit to be derived from the efforts of others. Okay, so I guess you could say cryptocurrency is an investment of money. You could call it a common enterprise. Expectation of profit? Well, just kind of depends on your motivation, doesn't it? Speculators are doing it, but a lot of us aren't. A lot of us are doing it because we want money to be free. You know, there are people in third world countries who are using it because, you know, their currencies are down in the crap hole. thanks to their socialist governments. And they've got people who have escaped their countries and want to send back remittances. How do you send that back over, internationally? Doing expensive wire transfers. Just use Dash, and it's a tenth of a penny. So. Alright, so they even have a section here, why is Bitcoin not a security? In June 2018, that was the same time period we were just talking about, the former chair of the SEC, Jay Clayton, clarified that Bitcoin is not a security. Cryptocurrencies. These are replacements for sovereign currencies. Replace the dollar, the euro, the yen with Bitcoin. That type of currency is not a security. And Investopedia says, Bitcoin, which has never sought public funds to develop its technology, does not pass the Howey test used by the SEC to classify securities. However, by Clayton's definition, tokens used in an ICO are. So there are contexts in which a token might be a security, but that's not what Reich was talking about. He was talking about all cryptocurrencies, and it's just a lie. It is an outright bald-faced lie. And, of course, now, and if you really want to look at how corrupt the SEC is being, look at SEC versus Libry, LBRY. They do. They also have the Odyssey website. That's it's an alternative for YouTube. Creators can put up videos and get monetized, and you can watch them, and everyone makes a little cryptocurrency from it. Just look on Twitter at a lot of their updates and just see how corrupt the SEC is being about that. So, yeah, it's not a security, and they know it. They'll just harass whoever they can because they're power-hungry narcissists. But the four-pronged Howey test from 1946, the Supreme Court, you have to have four things. The existence of an investment contract. You don't have that with Bitcoin and Dash and Monero and Litecoin and all those others. The formation of a common enterprise. Maybe, kind of depends on how you define enterprise. A promise of profits by the issuer. No, you don't have that. You can make money by mining, but that's doing work for the network. So. And the use of a third party to promote the offering, you don't have that either. So, it's not a security. Reich knows it. Reich is a liar. Reich does not know what he is talking about. Well, he knows that he doesn't know what he's talking about, and he just doesn't care. Because he's a political crony pushing an agenda. Nothing more. He is not an economist, and he sure doesn't care about you and me. And that's just the bottom line. But it's exactly what we've come to expect from Reich. So thank you very much for watching. Comments for the Comment God, shares for the Share Throne. Please hit like, subscribe, and the bell. You can donate with cryptocurrency at donate.bogosity.tv. Or if you really want to use fiat, I'll take it. PayPal is there. There are ways you can do that. And you can also become a regular supporter at Patreon or Subscribestar. Get these videos early and ad-free, all of the other benefits that are there as well. Thank you so very much for watching. Until next time, as always, especially in your finances, stay strong and be free.